So, I recently made a video discussing the XXL 2017 freshmen and I ranked them from the best to the worst. And now that all of the freestyles have been released, I think it's time to discuss those. Now, unfortunately, while I'm talking about these, I can't use any clips from the freestyles themselves because XXL have been quite ruthless with their copyright claims on me in the past, so I've really been cautious about using clips from their videos. Now, my opinion on these freestyles is most likely going to be quite different to what yours is, and that's to be expected, you know, everyone's looking for something completely different in a freestyle, everyone approaches them in a different way. So yeah, like I said, XXL are quite ruthless with their copyright claims, but I did want to talk about these freestyles. So guys, let's not waste any more time, and let's talk about the XXL 2017 freestyles, and the order I'm going to talk about each artist individually from what I think was the worst to the best freestyle. So let's go. Everyone got pretty mad at me for saying Carti was the worst in my opinion on my 2017 XXL freshman ranked list. I put him in my worst spot and a lot of people were quite mad at me about that, so I was thinking, you know what, maybe they're right. Maybe I've got it wrong and maybe Carti is going to come out with a freestyle that just blows everyone's mind. A freestyle that is so insane that everyone just loves her. Or anything, literally I was looking for anything ranging from decent to good or great. Unfortunately, that is not what Carti gave us. I think most people agree that Carti had the worst freestyle out of all the freshmen. Everyone has their own opinion, but did many people really enjoy this one? I'm curious. It's the one with the most dislikes so far, and I can see why. His delivery is not exactly completely mumbled, like it's not like Kodak Black where you couldn't understand a word he was saying, but his delivery was still pretty incoherent. He used the most typical, stereotypical flow in rap today in his freestyle, which is the A flow, you know, A, A. He used that in his freestyle, which doesn't showcase any unique talent, it doesn't show that you can do anything different. And then of course, lyrically, it was nothing special in terms of lyrics. The lyrics were mediocre at best. Now, I will dig more into Carti's professionally released music to see if there's anything more redeeming about him than just having good beats. But for now, I just think this was a really, really terrible freestyle. I genuinely want those 50 seconds of my life I spent listening to this back. Ooh, mumble rap. Nah, they don't want none of that. Mumble rap. Hey, they don't want none of that. Mumble rap. Old heads don't want. Did that sound really boring and basic to you? It was not that interesting and quite repetitive, right? Well, that's how half of MadeinTYO's freestyle goes like. A literal half of it. Now, repetition isn't too much of an issue when you're trying to make a catchy song, for example, but when you're in a freestyle where you're essentially competing against 9 other rappers and you're trying to showcase the best aspects of you as a rapper, repetition and repeating the same bars over and over really is not the way to do that. It started off pretty decent as well. The first half was okay, it was nothing mind-blowing, but it was decent enough. But then, in the second half of it, it just completely devolved into repetition and saying the same lines over and over. And I really think the 20 or so seconds he wasted repeating the same line could have been used to actually say something with either depth or meaning, or just to say something entertaining. But he didn't really do that. I thought this was another pretty bad one. Boogie was one of the few artists on this list that I actually kind of liked, and one of the artists that I discovered through this list and actually liked the music that I heard from him. So I was kind of disappointed with how this freestyle turned out, to be honest. It didn't exactly suck, like it wasn't completely trash, but it wasn't amazing either. It kind of sounds like if you threw it over the beat for Drowning, it would fit in perfectly. Like, the flow on this freestyle isn't exactly the same as the flow on Drowning, but you just can't help but feel they sound pretty damn similar. It sucks because I really wanted to hear something different from him on this freestyle. It also brings up another fairly big issue I have with all of these, which is that they're so damn short, most of them. A lot of the freestyles just sound like throwaway verses that the artists haven't used yet, and that's exactly how I feel about A Boogie's. I really don't understand why people hate Kamaiyah so much. Her freestyle, I think, it has quite a lot of dislikes. It has around 11,000 dislikes, and I don't really understand why people dislike her so much. Her freestyle really wasn't that bad, and people just kind of seem to hate on her. Like, this is just completely based off of what I've seen in comments. A lot of people seem to dislike her just because they've never heard of her before, which, if you ask me, is a pretty dumb reason to dislike an artist. Now, rhymes are not the most important part of a freestyle, but it is quite nice when the artist rapping actually can rhyme, and Kamaiyah can do that quite well. She has quite a good few multi-syllable rhymes throughout her verse here. I know some of her lines aren't exactly accurate, like the one where she says she makes hip-hop hits. Despite her not really having any songs that you would consider a hit, not really any huge songs, but I think it was a fairly consistent verse overall, and that's more than I can say for some of the previous ones. Again, not a fantastic verse, but I think it was better than people give her credit for, and it was decent. It was definitely decent. In my opinion, Kap G has pretty bad music that he makes, and his freestyle started off in the worst way it could for me, because this freestyle started off with him repeating the exact same line 8 times. He sang the exact same bar 8 times in a row, and I got really worried. I was thinking this was going to turn out just like MadeinTYO's, where it was just so much repetition. But luckily, after those repeated 8 bars, he actually started rapping, and it was better than what I expected from him. It actually surprised me, because from his music, it mostly just sounds like typical auto-tune rap, that kind of stuff. But his rapping here was actually really good. He had some great rhymes on here. His flow was quite nice. The only thing I guess I could complain about is it's kind of a typical I used to be broke, now I'm not verse. The content was kind of standard, but I think he managed to handle it in a fairly good way. Yet again, nothing crazy, but Kap definitely did make me respect him a little bit more with this verse. I honestly don't know what to say about this one. This one was just kind of like exactly what I expected to hear from Amine, which is not a bad thing. You know, just a sing-rap verse with some full-on passionate singing towards the end. And while we're on the topic of that, I just want to point out that I really did like his singing at the end of this. It sounded really passionate, and he put a lot of force into it, and it sounded quite good. I know he does that kind of sing-rapping thing, but I didn't know he actually had quite a good voice for full-on singing. So this verse was pretty much exactly what I expected it to be, but I'm not saying that was a bad thing. Didn't exceed my expectations, didn't go below them. It was just right, to be honest. A good freestyle in my opinion. Kyle pretty much did his thing on this freestyle, and I do like it. He's always got that kind of positive attitude whenever he raps. I don't think I've ever heard too many like kind of negative songs from this guy. And he also throws a few metaphors into this verse to make it sound even better. A couple of the lines here did fall very close to corny territory, which isn't a deal breaker, but I think it is something worth pointing out on here. Mostly he just covers how he came to be a rapper, and even has a line on here saying that he used to sound like Drake when he started out, and then follows it up by saying, oh well, like, who doesn't sound like Drake, you know? Most people who've started rapping have probably sounded like Drake at some point in their career. I just thought overall this was a pretty fun and entertaining freestyle. Not too serious, not too lighthearted. I enjoyed this one. This one was a very interesting one. Now, before I say this, keep in mind I do think this is a very good freestyle, but I don't think it's as great or as classic as X hyped it up to be on his Snapchat and things like that, because I do have some fans that like send me screenshots of X's snaps and ask what I think about them, and I remember he had one where he said, this would be the verse that changes everyone's mind about him. Now, before you call me an old man who hates music in the comment, keep in mind X is actually older than me, but I didn't think this was the greatest freestyle ever made. I don't think it was as good as he hyped it up to be, but keep in mind I did think it was good, and that's a lot coming from me because, as you probably know, I'm not the biggest fan of X, so for me to say that his freestyle was good and I did quite enjoy it is quite a good achievement, so I have to commend him on that. I have to give him points for putting a lot of meaning into his lines and staying very consistent with that meaning and the theme throughout the whole freestyle. A lot of the lines were very thought-provoking. It was quite a short one, but some of the lines in there were thought-provoking. However, I did feel some of his lines fell into the pseudo-conscious category, where it's just he's trying too hard to sound deep, but he's not really saying anything that is that deep. It's just stuff that sounds like it is deep. However, there was quite a few thought-provoking lines on here and I thought it was good. All I'm trying to say there is you probably shouldn't talk like it's the greatest thing ever written just because X tells you it is. That's all I'm saying with that. I also think his delivery could have been a little bit clearer, but regardless, it was better than most of the people on this list. Despite me not being a fan of his music, I can say that he provided a freestyle here that I really did enjoy, and it was worth listening to. I have to give mad respect to PnB because on this list of freestyles that ranges from 40 seconds long to 1 minute and 15 seconds long, PnB is the only artist on this entire list who went for more than 2 minutes. So I have to give him respect for that. PnB is someone who I would say sings a lot more than he raps, and somehow he still manages to outdo most of the other rappers on this list. His verse also had some pretty nice content as he talked about his background and how he was parented, and throws a few emotional lines in there about his family, and I think it was really good. Now, I don't mind if an artist writes their freestyles. I couldn't care less as long as it sounds good, or if it's lyrical or whatever, I couldn't care less. But this one does come across a little bit like it's an unreleased song to me, and that does irk me a little bit, but it's not that big enough of a problem to put me off of it completely. And like I said, he went for more than 2 minutes and it still was a very impressive freestyle with good content, good lyrics, and I like the way he flows and delivers his lyrics with that sing rap style. Like, this is one of the ones that could have actually been good if it was included on lists like the 2014 list or the 2016 list. I think he still would have stood out on those, and that's a good job. I really enjoy his personal story on here, and I genuinely think this was definitely the second best freestyle on here. This right here. This one was the verse that surprised me the most. I really didn't expect Ugly God to pack a punch with his freestyle, but he really did, and honestly, I'm willing to admit that I think one of the reasons why I put him as the best on here is because it shocked me so much, and I really didn't expect it to be as good as it was. Perhaps it's not as lyrically deep as X's freestyle was, or as personal as PnB Rock's was, but I think the shock factor honestly plays into it quite a bit here. Now I get that Ugly God doesn't actually even think that his own music is good, like he said in interviews that he thinks his own music is trash, but it's cool to see that he can actually rap if that's what he wanted to do. For me, freestyles don't have to be anything too serious, and I think Ugly hit the nail on the head here. He still had some really good rhymes and lyrics, while also keeping a really fun and entertaining feel to it the whole time. I think the main thing that I enjoyed about this freestyle was it was just kind of a feel-good freestyle. It makes you feel happy to listen to. It's weird to describe it, but it's just entertainment. The last thing that I expected was that I would enjoy his freestyle the most, because while his music is fun to listen to kind of half-heartedly and not take seriously, I've always felt that he never really showcases any talent through his music. Like, it's cool that he makes all his own beats, that is pretty good, but like lyrically he's never really showcased talent through his songs. I mean, to me, he almost comes across to me as a self-aware version of Lil Yachty. And I honestly don't know how this happened, but his freestyle just turned out to be the one I enjoyed the most. And that's the key word there. I enjoyed his one the most. It was just a good one to listen to. And that's why I put it as my best one. So I hope you guys can understand that. You might disagree with that. I know it wasn't the best lyrically. It was still much better than I expected, and it was quite a surprising one. So that is what I think Ugly God had the best freestyle on here. And honestly, I have quite a lot of respect for him after this. Well guys, what did you think of this? Did you agree with me? Let me know your opinions below and how you would rank the freestyles also in the comments. Now, this was a bit different from my usual videos. I usually would have done something like this in a top 10 format, but I thought this was better in just kind of like a video discussion kind of thing. And I thought that would be much better to do. And obviously it's always good to try something different. So with all that being said guys, please subscribe if you haven't done so already. Leave a like if you enjoyed the video. And share the video if you want to help it get out there. That's all I've got to say today guys. Thank you so much for watching. I'll also do videos discussing the cyphers once they all come out. And I'll hopefully see you guys all in the next video. This is CDTVProductions signing out.